Okay, in terms of my background, I am CEO and co-founder of Freightwalla. So Freightwalla is basically a digital freight forwarder, and we use technology throughout the end-to-end freight forwarding sort of life cycle to drive a lot of efficiency and automation for our clients. Other than that, other pieces of my background which might be relevant to this discussion is prior to starting this company, I used to work in strategy consulting first and then venture capital soon after. And those two experiences have been pretty formative in the way that I think about business, people, strategy. I mean, everything.
Right. So you are the co-founder of a startup who has a background in VC funding himself. So how important do you think your people practice is to you as a founder now that you're on the other side of the table, having worked as a VC?
Yeah, so the one thing that everyone says in venture capital, especially the earlier stages, when you're looking to invest in a company that is relatively newly formed, is that the team is everything, right? It's team plus idea. Is it a good idea? Is it a large market, and can the team execute on it? So I think from the very start, it's always been very important to have the right skill sets on board, and complementary skill sets, the right personalities that can actually take an idea and drive it to first 0 to 1, and then hopefully from 1 to 100. So that, I think, that comes from the VC point of view. But more important, I think over the last few years, what I've begun to realize is that's the starting point. But then beyond that, I draw on learnings that I've had in strategy consulting when I was working and advising. I was working in PwC and advising Fortune 500 companies on their growth strategies. I have seen over there firsthand how people and personalities can trump great plans and great visions. It's not just enough to have a great business plan, a great vision of what you want to do. If the people along the way are not aligned, if they are not capable, if they are not interested, that can also happen. No great plan and no great vision is going to be able to overcome those sort of people issues. So drawing on both those experiences, I mean, I would say, yeah, it's ultimately, in the service industry like ours, it starts and ends at people. Everything else is an enabler, but I would say that this is like one of the critical founding blocks.
Right. Sanjay, can you share with us some examples from your company Freightwalla on how you are able to motivate and empower your team members?
Yeah, sure. So look, we don't really have any best practices as such that are running. I mean, as a young company, I'm sure you'll appreciate, things change on a 6-monthly basis. But what I can share is 2 founding principles on which we base our entire engagement with our employees. Right? And the 2 principles are basically flexibility and support. And I think a lot of, I've heard almost every speaker over here talk about how they are responsive to their employees and, give them leeways, give them extra support in terms of the fund for marriages, etc. So I think ultimately, in our industry, these 2 criteria will go a long way in establishing a high level of employee engagement. And within this, to name some things that we've actually done, okay, let's talk about flexibility first. Because of the way that we're a completely digital platform, work from home for us was very easy. It was instituted in 2-3 days. It was relatively smooth, and till date we don't really have anyone in office. Everyone is working from home, and our platform helps support all of the work required with minimal disruptions. So that's like one real life example. And obviously, I remember once I had asked someone to come into office because there was some paperwork that needed to be managed. And I saw the level of fear. This person had diabetes, and obviously, being a diabetic, stepping out, having comorbidities, this guy is very concerned about leaving home. And that's when it really struck me that this just is one instance. Of course, he was very accommodative at the end of it, and we got the work done, and then stayed at home for the rest of the time. But that just showed and was illustrative to me about how much support really means to these to everyone, you know, because no one wants to be in a situation where on a daily basis they have to put themselves at risk just so that they can earn a livelihood. So the flexibility and the support, according to me, these are the two guiding principles which will go a long way in building a good logistics organization, at least from a people's point of view.